Welcome, welcome, glory be to the great sun. If you're a Nilfgaard fan, this one's for you. If you're not a Nilfgaard fan, if you hate Nilfgaard, this one's still for you. Because you need to learn how your opponent thinks, you need to learn what their strategies are, and you need to learn how to counter them. I'm going to tell you this much. Nilfgaard gives you probably the worst of all the starting decks, but it is also probably the one with the steepest learning curve. So it has like the cards are the lowest value, the learning curve is the highest, but it's probably one of the most rewarding. And this deck is what's known as an assimilate deck, which we're going to get into in just a moment. But I want to describe something first before we talk about Nilfgaard. Nilfgaard is the ultimate red coin abuse deck. Now, what does that mean? Whenever you start a game, there's a coin flip to decide who goes first and who goes second. If you go first, you start with blue coin on top. You got heads. You won the coin flip, so you get a start. But if you lost the coin flip and you start the game off, it's going to show red because you're on tails. So red coin means you go second. That's simply all that means. Now, red coin abuse means a deck that likes to go second. As you learn from Monsters Wild Hunt deck is also a bit of a red coin abuse deck. There are certain decks that want to be reactive as opposed to proactive. Northern Realms is proactive. They have a lot of those orders that you have to wait a turn. They have units that boost themselves every turn. They have kind of those passive engine points. Nilfgaard doesn't have as many of those. Nilfgaard instead has a lot of cards that say, oh, you played that? Well, I'm going to play this to counter that. Oh, you're going to play that? Well, I'm going to play this to get a benefit from what you're about to play. So Nilfgaard really loves to kind of angle itself as that red coin abuse deck. Now this assimilate is probably the one exception. So note that like when people complain about Nilfgaard, it's usually not assimilate. This deck still has a lot of control elements to it. It's still very heavy red coin abuse, but there are some proactive engines in it. So it gives you a taste of kind of what people call wholesome Nilfgaard, or the Nilfgaard where you can play it and it's not going to constantly react and destroy the opponent's stuff, but it's also going to do some of its own stuff as well. So we'll walk you through what I mean by that. So as with every starter deck, you start with Geralt of Rivia. Awesome. Then you get Swears. Deploy, melee. So remember, deploy happens first, so he's going to play it. When you play him to melee, he's going to seize an enemy unit with 3 or less power. What does seize mean? Seize means move an enemy to the opposite row. Well, the opposite row is your row. So when you play Swears, he plays down for 3 points, and he's going to take a 3-point unit. So he puts 6 points on your side of the board. But because he's taking a 3-point unit from the opponent, he's playing for 9 total points. Because he's playing down for 3, he's taking a 3 onto your side of the board, and your opponent is losing 3 points because you're taking it. He's super helpful in stealing engines. Remember those Temerian drummers from Northern Realms? Or those Wild Hunt hounds? Or the Naglfar crew from Monsters? All of those get points over time. Well, Swears is going to say, I want those points. I'm going to step in here and I'm going to take that card and I'm going to keep taking those points for myself. So he is really good at that. We'll learn more about Swears soon. Artorias. If you've watched the show, Artorias Vigo is Fringilla's uncle. He is the one at the head of the council. He is one of the most learned and experienced mages, and he is a master of illusions. It said he created an illusion so realistic that he began to believe it himself. He is the king of assimilate, so he's going to create and play a 1-power copy of a bronze unit from our starting deck, which we're going to walk through all of those bronze units. It's just going to play for 1 point, but a lot of those cards have really good deploys, so he's going to be able to get you an extra one of those cards, and he's really, really good at that. And then he also has this assimilate. Assimilate means he boosts himself by 1 or the specified amount, which we're going to get to in a second. There's only 1 card that gets more than 1. Whenever you play a card that is not from your starting deck. So whenever you're playing one of your opponent's cards, or you're playing a card that creates a card like him. See how he creates this new card? That's not in your deck. It's a brand new card you created. Well, he's going to create that card, play that card, and then boost himself by 1 for creating that card. And this assimilate is really helpful with our leader, which we're going to talk about once. You can only use it once. You create and play a card from your opponent's hand. It's going to show you 3 of the cards from your opponent's hand, and you're going to be able to choose one of those, create a brand new copy of it, and play it yourself. I highly recommend waiting until the last 3 cards of the game to play this ability. That way you know for certain what your opponent has. It's really kind of a great ability that way, in that it lets you see your opponent's hand and you get to play their best card that works best for you out of those 3 cards. Glynis just gets that assimilate too. She has 2 armor, so she can stick on the board, and she's just a really good passive engine, really good in the long round. And instead of just getting 1 point for each of those cards you're creating or stealing that aren't from your deck, she is getting 2. So she's really great. Summoning Circle, deploy, create, and play a bronze unit from any faction. This is a create, so this is really helpful for those assimilates. And it's just going to be any random bronze card. You have no idea what it's going to give you. Could give you 3 awesome options, could give you 3 crappy options, or anything in between. Dergea Vol, Lock, we already know him. Dazbog Runestone creates and plays a bronze Nilfgaard faction card. So very similar to Summoning Circle, except that it's only going to be a Nilfgaard card. Again, creating a new card, good for assimilate. Alzur's Thunder just damages cards, kills them off. Experimental Remedy is going to play a bronze unit from your opponent's graveyard. So they go to their graveyard at the end of the turn, or if you really like it, you kill it with Alzur's Thunder, and then you play it with Experimental Remedy. And that's going to be a card that's not from your deck, so it's also going to proc those assimilates. And by procking just means activating. So that's what procking means in games. Alba Armored Cavalry, deploy, melee, lock an enemy unit. So he's just an additional lock on top of Dergea Vol, and he's also a bronze Nilfgaard card. So you can create an additional one of these with Artorias. Now Artorias is going to give you 3 options. So if you have more than 3 bronze cards, it's going to be a random draw. So it could be this guy, it could be one of or any of the other cards. It'll be 3 of those options. So that's it. Impure Brigade. This is like those Dunbanners or the Wild Hunt Riders. Deploy if you control a soldier. Alba Armored Cavalry is a soldier. You're going to be able to summon all copies of this unit from your deck to this row. Diviner, assimilate. So she's an assimilate engine. She also gets purify, so she can purify your own units from poisons, locks, etc. She can also purify enemy units from defender status or vitality. Disloyal. This means it plays to the opponent's side of the board. You might remember this from one of our very first games we played against Nilfgaard, who was playing these disloyal cards onto our side of the board, which did things for them. Well, she's going to deploy. On her deploy, she plays 1 point to the opponent's side, so they get a point. But then you get to choose one of their units that's not from your own deck, because disloyal means from it's your deck. So you can't like play another one of herself if that's already over there. But you can create one of their units, which is going to play into your assimilate value because she's creating a new copy. I know this feels a little complicated. Like I said, steepest learning curve from the starter decks, but it's going to make sense once we get into it, and I'll walk you guys through every step. Imperial Diplomacy, create and play a bronze card from your opponent's faction. Doesn't have to be from their deck, just from that faction. But again, this is giving you those assimilate procs. Ducal Guard, he's a soldier, so he's really helpful for Imperial Brigade. He's also an assimilate engine, so you're getting those assimilate procs whenever you're playing something that's not from your deck. Ardfane Chivalry Cavalry, same thing as Ducal Guard, except Ducal Guard has no armor. Ardfane Cavalry only plays for 3 points, but he has 2 armor, so they're kind of balanced in that way. Both of those are pretty good cards. So we're going to go walk you through this. This is, I feel like Nilfgaard is a very flashpoint faction. People either love it or they hate it. I hope you guys love it. honestly, Nilfgaard can be a lot of fun. They can also be really difficult to play against, but they can be a lot of fun to play. So we'll jump into a game, show you guys how this goes. Oh my goodness, look at that. We get to go up against a mirror, which is actually kind of good for this matchup just because you'll be able to see the most synergy here, I think. So we definitely want to keep our Geralt to kill their Glynis. We want to keep our Derrigate to lock their Glynis. We want to use this Swears. He's really good. Diplomacy is probably actually pretty helpful here, but I would like to get some of our other cards. This is probably helpful to purify our Glynis. What I'm looking for are Artorias, Summoning Circle, or Dazbog. So let's go ahead and we'll put back this Imperial Diplomacy. And I like to keep experimental remedies for round 2. That way I don't have to kill something first. I can just get that value. And we're just going to start this off simply here with just playing Ardfane Cavalry. We want to get down as many of our assimilate engines as we can for this round. And we're going to just try to get some value off of that. Now, if the opponent played Swears here, they could steal this Ardfane Cavalry because he's only 3 points. And note, if he were to steal mine, it doesn't base the assimilate off of the deck that he started in. It's based off the deck the opponent had. All right, this is perfect. We got them to play their lock already. Remember, Diviner is also an assimilate unit. So this is actually fantastic for us. We're going to go ahead and just purify this Ardfane Cavalry. Now, a polite thing to do as soon as you're done is to just press end turn right away. That way the opponent doesn't just have to sit around waiting for you to end your turn. All right, out comes another lock from the opponent. We'll go for a Ducal Guard here. Just waiting for them to play stuff. So as you're seeing here, no, this deck really is very reactive. It's loving when the opponent does stuff. Praise be to the great sun. So Nilfgaardian Knight is actually worth quite a bit of points. It does boost an opponent's unit up a little bit in value. So, you know, you do want to think a little bit about like who you would want to target. Well, for me, I actually want to boost this Nilfgaardian Knight to 10 so that Geralt can kill him. So watch this. We're going to play this Duchess Informant. We're going to go ahead and steal this, play one of these copies of the Nilfgaardian Knight, see how it's created it over here. Now I can play it wherever I want. And it's going to boost the enemy's unit first because of that deploy. And then you saw Diviner and Ducal Guard got boosted because they are assimilate engines. So here we're able to get that assimilate going. Really good value for us. And now we have set up the kill for Geralt to get really good value against the opponent. Nilfgaardian Knights are really good when you go first because you can play them down for 8 points and there's nothing to boost. So you can go ahead and get that value by boosting something else. Alright, we're going to go ahead here and just play Geralt for a couple of reasons. We get to kill off that Nilfgaardian Knight. Now, Geralt's only 3, so if I boost him, he's only going to go to 8. So now I have no units that are over that 9-point line that we're always concerned with. And we got the pass from the opponent, so that worked out really well for us. I want to save Glynis for our final round, but everything else I'm kind of happy to play as soon as it's going to get some value. So here we're just going to try to look for, oh, Brigade is great. Artorias is a good option to try to get us another soldier. Let's go ahead and put Alzur's Thunder back. Oh, look, see, we got our bricks, so we need to put one of those. All right, this is perfect. We can get Ardfane Cavalry down. He's a soldier. Swears is also a soldier, by the way, and a knight. Knight doesn't matter a whole lot for Nilfgaard, but does for Northern Realms, so don't worry too much about it. Alright, here we're just going to get out our Imperial Brigade. There we go. We got out that tutor card. Tutor just means it's a card that gets you another card. Sorry, it's not actually tutor. It's actually thin, so I was misspeaking. The opponent goes up against us. A little bit of points here. So we are a little bit pressed for time. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go for this. Nobody actually does damage. Let's go for Artorias. No. Ugh, we're down a card and I'm just trying to think of a good way around it. Let's go for Artorias here. Would not typically be my preference, but... Alright, so this is perfect. We're going to go ahead and play Duchess Informant. She's a created card, so it's going to proc his Assimilate. And then we're going to play their Ducal Guard, which is another Assimilate. So that gets us a lot of points. And now we have 3 Assimilate engines. But I think if the opponent plays and they don't overtake us in terms of score, we're going to go ahead and take the pass here. The only other exception is if they were to play an Ardfane Cavalry, I'd want to steal it with Swears. They don't. They now have 2 Assimilate engines. So we are good to go. We can just take this pass. They'll have to play one more card, and that gives us last say. Now they could have one more lock, so I'd like to be able to draw into this Diviner. She's going to be really important for Glynis. Our opponent has not played Geralt yet either, so I do also have to be careful of that. So the opponent is only going to be able to steal a 4-point unit, but because these 2 engines, they're going to be able to overtake that point value. But not by enough. They needed to steal a 4-point unit. That was a bit of a misplay. Something we often say on my channel and on my stream is do your math. All right, he's only going to be able to steal this Duchess Informant, but you'll be able to see it here. There it goes. And it was a created unit, so it procced all of those Assimilates. Now we're just going to try to take as many Assimilates as possible. So Duchess Informant is great. These Alzur Thunders really aren't all that helpful to us right now. We just want as many Assimilates as possible, and we got really lucky in drawing our Diviner, which was nice. I guess we only had... we had 11 cards, and we had 5 out of 11 chances to draw her. So just a little under 50%, and we got her. So that was great. So we just want to play Glynis before we play any of these other Assimilate cards. So Dazbog, Summoning Circle, Duchess Informant. Alright, this is perfect. That's that 3-point unit that we've been waiting for. We're just going to go ahead and use Swears to steal that. It's kind of a bit of a misplay, as the opponent knew we had Swears because they just played it from our hand. There's no reason to purify this off, but everybody gets to make choices. We're going to go ahead and get down Glynis here. Actually, let's go ahead and play Alba Armored Cavalry. We still have Derige to lock the opponent's Glynis, but we're going to just lock that Assimilate. Just kind of hog tie their value here. we put back our Imperial Diplomacies, but they actually are pretty good in this matchup because you're getting Nilfgaard cards. Gives you 3 options out of all the bronzes. It could be any of them. So it looks, I'm guessing the opponent is reading each of them, trying to figure out which one's the best choice. You do have to be a little bit careful there because you do still have the timer. They go for Thirsty Dame, which is kind of an interesting option. And we're just going to get down Glynis here. And if we can get Glynis to 8 points before the opponent's final card, that's going to be pretty nice for us. Okay, Ox is really solid. He is a starter card. And he does do that great lock. But now we get to get out our other Assimilate. We're just going to go ahead and purify her here so she's ready to go. And the opponent has this Assimilate Purify here too. So we have this Duchess Informant that we can go ahead and steal this Diviner with. So even though I'm guessing they're going to take a lock, no, they didn't. They should have taken, they should have played one of our, oh, I guess we don't have it in our graveyard anymore. Don't know what happened there. All right, what we're going to do first is go ahead and play this double cross, see how they have 3 cards. We're going to find out what they have. All right, each of these are pretty good. I think what we want to do is use an experimental remedy to play a Duchess Informant. So that's 1 card that wasn't ours. Now we're going to play a Duchess Informant. Hopefully this is the one we created. And we're going to steal a Diviner here. And there we go again. And we still haven't even played our starting card yet. So let's play Summoning Circle. And I kind of want this. Let's do this one. He's 7 points. If he takes damage, he's going to kill himself. Don't worry too much about what this card is. I just need to make a quick decision. But he has Berserk 3, Destroy Self. So if he gets damaged by 4, he'll kill himself. He's really similar to that Redanian Elite card that you've seen before. That's just lots of points for us. Oh, and by playing this, we knew that the opponent did not have Geralt. So we can just take Glynis as high as we want her. Don't have to sweat about it. They're going to play something from our graveyard. I'm guessing it's going to be a Nilfgaardian Knight since it plays for 8, -2, 6 points. A little bit better than all of these other ones. Emissary isn't the greatest, but it does give this Thirsty Dame a bonus. Because it does play as Disloyal, so it gives itself that spying status, so that's why she's getting boosted. And note that this Duchess Informant was one we stole from the opponent. So it didn't get spying because it was from their deck. So a little bit weird, but you know, it works. We're going to go ahead and just steal one of these Diviners. Because points are points. And you're seeing here in Nilfgaard this red coin abuse deck really playing for a lot of points. We're already up to 57 points here. And we probably should have played this lock a little earlier, but I'm not super worried about controlling the opponent's stuff. We already saw what their cards are. Experimental Remedy might play for a little bit of points, but we don't have any of those Duchess Informants in our graveyard. So the best option they probably have is to get that Experimental Remedy and then to play one of these other cards. Also, just as a quick aside, the whole reason that I talked about the one time that you want to have premiums and non-premiums, which you're not going to get all of those options until a long time anyway, are just so you can see which ones are yours in the graveyard. If you have premium cards, create premium cards. So Artorias, since he's non-premium, only creates the regular versions of these. Note that leader abilities create premium cards, so that's why the opponent created a premium version of ours. which also should mean this experimental remedy is premium because that's what we stole from the opponent. All right, we're just going to go ahead here and lock this diviner. All right, the opponent taking their sweet time to make choices. Again, the smart choice here would be to steal our experimental remedy, but they only have one assimilate engine at this point, so it's not going to be that much value for them. If you get really lucky with Dazbog Runestone, you want to get like an experimental remedy. So you want a card that can create a card that can create a card. They still have one more spying unit there, so we could get a whole bunch of points if we did that. Here instead, we're just going to go ahead and play this Fangs of the Empire. It makes a poison. There we go. All kinds of points, and we win 73 to 44. Pretty fun. I think you guys will really like Nilfgaard. Like I said, it is a little bit steeper learning curve, so it will feel a little bit intense for you. But I think you can get this and watch this video a few times till you get it down, and just have some fun playing it. Like I said, this is really wholesome Nilfgaard, so you don't have to feel bad. Not that you have to feel bad playing Control anyway, but this is clear conscience Nilfgaard for you. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Until next time, though, good luck on the path. Get out there. Keep on Gwenting. Bye for now.